Welcome to My Period Stories, where we talk about menstruation and issues surrounding menstruation. We bring you amazing people with fascinating stories to tell and share about their periods, if you like, menstruation. Right, so on My Period Stories today, we continue with the series on endometriosis, which is one of the health conditions related with menstruation. And we hear that 1 in 10 women suffer from endometriosis. So today we have someone who's living with endometriosis and someone who's willing to share her story so that we can all learn. It's my pleasure to welcome Eniton Sophie Oluwa. She's a reproductive health advocate. She's also the founder of Natini Empowerment Initiative. It's my pleasure to welcome you, Sophie. Right. All I know about you is that you travel a lot. You're a woman of many parts. You're into different projects, always busy. I know that you're dealing with endometriosis. And one of the things I took away from Dr. Abayomi Ajayi when he came here to talk about endometriosis was that it reduces the quality of life of the sufferers. So how have you been able to do so much? I mean, you're into meaningful projects. You even work with us, SPMC, this is the Sanitary Pad Media Campaign. How do you do all of this?
Okay, so for me, thank you for having me and well done with the work. It's a great privilege working with SPMC because I feel like it's an opportunity to share the gospel and give back. So I do a lot because I know that somebody has to do it. And I travel because travel is therapy for me. Like I said, there are days when I have to be a couch potato. I know I can't do anything. I'm grounded, so to say. So for me, the period I can feel like I'm free, that's when I utilize and then I travel because I want to see the world. I've been in so much pain. I just want to go and explore and have this kind of breath of fresh air.
I know if you're not in Cameroon, you're in Togo, you're in every Côte d'Ivoire, you travel a lot.
Yeah, my travel is about, I visit a lot of low-income communities. So for me, it's about a lot of people not having access to this information. I like to say that I got lucky or I'm very privileged to be educated because my story of getting a diagnosis, my entire journey from menarche till when I finally started getting treatment, it took a space of like 10, 12 years, and it was education that helped me. So moving to low-income communities is to connect people who do not have the kind of opportunities that I am getting with education and educating them to say that this kind of pains should not be normalized. We have to talk about this so that we can rescue other young girls.
Right, so that's the crux of what you do with Natini Empowerment.
Natini Empowerment is we do disability rights, gender and disability rights, reproductive health rights, but we focus on persons with disability. And just like Dr. Ajayi said, endometriosis is like an unpronounced disability. That's how I like to describe it. It's unpronounced because imagine in 30 days, you could be grounded for like 15, 16 days. So what happens to those days? You can't do anything. That's the truth. You can't do anything. And I know it's not being classified as a disability, but those who live with it will make you know that it's not for the faint at heart.
Now, I don't think I'll forget that phrase in a while. Unpronounced disability. Wow. I need to chew on that.
It's unpronounced because when you talk about disability rights, people just assume that it's a physically challenged, visually impaired, maybe those, just the things you can see. But when you have endometriosis, it's like your body's at war. Your body's at war. Your body's fighting itself. The entire pelvic area. It depends because different symptoms for different people. But for me, it's about not being able to do anything, and I can feel all of the burning sensation in my stomach. So it's like my body at war.
Okay, so we've already dived into the symptoms with you with endometriosis, but I'd like us to talk more about how you came to know that this is endometriosis.
Okay.
You've said about 10, 12 years.
Yes.
Talk to me about it.
Okay, so I still feel like I feel a bit traumatized looking back at those years. It started with menarche, and I also like to say I was a bit
menarche,
lucky.
by the way, is the first menstruation, right?
Yes, I like to say that I was a bit lucky because I didn't start early, which is a bit ironic because most people who have endometriosis sometimes start a bit early. Like the earlier you start, the more, and it also shows that no two bodies are the same. Everybody's, you are going to have different symptoms at different times. I didn't start early, and looking back, I started at about 16 years of age. I know I prayed for my period to come because a lot of people around me, even my younger sister started as, and it's like, why is this thing not coming?
So at what age did it come?
16. Okay. And looking back, it felt like I'd finished secondary school. I was writing my work the time I had that. And just like, looking back, I feel like it was a blessing in disguise because I do not know how I would have coped if I had at that time. Nobody spoke to me about periods. Nobody told me about all these challenges. And when I started, I was having this kind of, you're not the first person to have a period. It felt like people were whitewashing my pain. It's so bad that I've gotten so used to the pain that sometimes when you go to the hospital and then you're complaining, they say, are you sure we should not admit you? Are you sure you're not? So the threshold for pain increased because you've heard people say, no, it's not that serious. You're not the first person. And there's this shame and stigma around period. Like you are having your period, you are in so much pains. You're looking for cold surfaces to lie down because you cannot bear, you feel so hot. And everybody's like, why are you making a scene? You're not the first woman in this house to have a period. And for me, it's a case of my own younger sister having a period before me and not having as much drama as myself. And it's like, what's happening here? And then the journey started that way, but every period is always like, everybody in my house will be on period with me because they have to look for solution for me.
Once you start your period, everybody's on period.
Everybody is on period because I'm in so much pain.
Because they're caring for you.
They have to care for me. Excruciating. I can't do anything. 24, 48 hours. I'm just there, I can't do anything. And everybody's like, oh, this is coming again. It comes with different symptoms. Irregular too. In a month, I could have like twice, and the flows are usually very long. That should have been the first sign. And this is why I like to talk about period poverty, because there was no access to healthcare. All I had was getting herbs, and I remember when I went to Otuawori, when I was at the College of Education, I was in a predominantly Yoruba community where everybody just feels like, oh, you have to take herbs. You these educated people, you just think that it's about education. We have been using this before education came, our forefathers. My aunt once said, I've had like 8 girls in this house and they have period pains. This is what kills it. I used it, very bitter, black substances that kind of added more to my issues, and then I would be forced to take it because it looks like you are in pain. We're asking you to use this. You do not want to use it. Doesn't mean you don't want a solution, but nothing is getting done. So I continued that way. It means I'll miss school sometimes. I'll miss a lot of chores. I can't do anything that period. I continued till I had my first degree. It was still the same. I just cancelled that week. So it's a case of the week before the period. During the period is the main drama. After the period too. So
that's
you don't
already
get off
3 weeks out of
You don't get off
4 weeks.
days. You don't get off days. That's the truth because you are dealing with one thing or the other. And then I'll talk about my time when I went back to get the second degree in law in Unilag. That was where the entire journey started. So it turned out that for most times I have my period, I realized that I'll be at the medical center getting, I don't want to use the word tranquilize because that's how it feels. I would get injection.
Because you need to numb the pain.
I have to numb the pain. I find myself, I was older, which means I was in the room with younger people, and you do not want to do the same drama you have been doing with, these people are having periods without so much pain. Yes. So I just grab myself, get to the medical center, get injection most times, and then I'm on automation for the next 48 hours. What you see me do is stand up, change my pad, go back to bed. And because the flow is also very heavy for most part of it. I know when I started, my mom we couldn't afford the pads and then the tones of pads you have to use for a period. For a period, if I need to use pad, then I'll be talking about 4 packs, 5 packs, 8 days sometimes, 10 days.
4 packs?
4 packs or even more.
Okay, so right now in Nigeria, that goes for like 600 naira in some places. 700 in some places, so
even
you're
more,
using like even more than that,
so
and you're using like 4.
Yeah, so it was more like no, this is not sustainable. My mom had to teach me the wrapper method, shuffling to say, okay, this is what you do. This can collect more, and so you can imagine the kind of working and you're being very conscious. Wrapper shifts. You want to be sure you are not stained. Water issues. It's not very palatable, and you're also very conscious that I hope this is not smelling. I hope I've not stained my body, and continuing with all that till I got into Unilag, started getting care, and then I got other products to use. Quite pricey because at the point I started using tampons, I stopped using that. For me, the tampons also helped me help me, because this is something I'm inserting, and it feels like the flow, the kind of pain I'll feel when I have to flow is reduced.
All right, let me pause you there. We'll go on this break. And when we come back, we'll take off from tampons. Right, you're watching My Period Stories with me, Funke Treasure, and today we've been talking about living with endometriosis, and my guest has been Sophie Oluwa, who's a reproductive health advocate and someone living with endometriosis. She's also the founder of Natini Empowerment Initiative. We're talking about tampons. Now, the alternatives to using sanitary pads for every woman and every girl. And you were saying tampons helped you in managing endometriosis. How?
Okay, so there's this kind of pain when you are flowing, or when I am flowing. There's this kind of pain, and it feels like my pelvis will be burning when I have the flow coming out. But of course, when I have the tampon there, it's a bit better till I have to change it, remove it. If I don't have it on, I feel more pain. That's what I realized. And then before I got to that stage, I'd like to also talk about not having enough information, because it took me reading about this, going online, reading books, trying to find out why I'm having pains and what I can do. A lot of myths about, I know one of the things I heard was it's because you're not sexually active. Is when you start making babies, this will get better. But of the options I saw...
No, the first time when you start making
babies,
love.
Sexually active.
Okay, that's the
sex.
Politically correct way to put it.
Yes.
When you start being sexually active,
yes.
And then when you start making babies,
yes.
And then
I think those were the two prominent ones I kind of heard. It was more about a lot of people were tying it to sexual activities, which I felt was sexual activities and baby making. They feel like, oh, okay, it's blood, it's dirty, the baby will push out the dirty blood, and then you can now start afresh. There were a lot of stories, but the one I really held on to, and which is why I do what I do. I know some people who got pregnant because they felt like this pain is too much. If I have a baby, since it's been said that if I have a baby, the pain will be reduced. At that point, you want to do anything to stop the pain. And I feel like no girl should go through that. You don't have to believe that kind of thing. And yes, that's how I found the tampon. The tampon was from researches. And when you have something like endometriosis, you do not have enough information. Sometimes even the doctors might not know what they are treating. And I'll tell you why. That's if it's a GP before you get to a gynecologist. I'll tell you that you are presenting different symptoms at different times. I know at a point...
It's not consistent.
It's not consistent. It's going to be attacking different parts of the body. It has to do with hormones. I know at a point it was about... So aside from the acne, black spots and all that I come up with, because it's the hormones interacting, I'm either presenting something that has to do with asthma. I know I was investigated even for tuberculosis. I had to do coaching. They scribble all this. What helped my journey was the friends I have who are medical people. And I must also say my younger sister too is also a medical doctor. So that helped. Each time, Unilag doesn't tell me what I'm being investigated for. Even when I realized I had ovarian cyst, they would just scribble something. So I would take a picture of it. It helps my researchers and the people I'm talking to, those who are doctors over there. And I think the reason why they do those things is that they do not want you to self-medicate or to get alarmed. It's something they don't talk about. I remember the first time I saw that I was being administered. Okay, I don't want to call the drug so that we don't encourage people to use. So it's like, what kind of drug is this? It's been written. I took a picture and somebody interpreted.
Is it a steroid? Because I hear that some people are placed on steroids.
Okay, so in my own case, I know at the time it was tramadol, the injection,
okay, so
and even codeine. Yes, and it was alarming because I know that's the kind of drug you're giving to somebody who is probably undergoing a surgery. So, like, okay, so this is what this is about. And it's to tell you the kind of pains that you are going through. This is just to just make you're basically on automation. Just do what you have to do, and that helps live regular life. You're talking about missing tests, classwork, exam. I know I missed a particular, and so you now have to start negotiating. That's what I do. I mean, about 2 days ago, I was at the medical center. I was negotiating. I didn't want to get bent. That's the new one they gave me. I said, no, I'm not going to do this because I don't want anything that will make me sleep. So sometimes the one that came recently was my feet would just get swollen. And they had to even investigate my kidney one time. Say, are you sure it's not body fluids coming out? Could it be your kidney having issues? No, this is not. But it's a bit easier now since I know what it is. Since I kind of understand that there's no cause for alarm, so to say. It is just my body at war against itself. So the journey is a bit easier. But I would say that anybody who's having painful period, you have to be alert and know that what would work for one person might not work for you. Understanding your vitals. I also know that stress is a factor for me too. So I try to do things that will not stress me. And I know what my body system can take at a certain period. So that's when you see me travel. I understand that, okay, at this point, I'm fine. And I also go with my bag of drugs. My bag is almost like a pharmacy, a moving pharmacy, because I will know the drug to use at different time. I know when to use my laxative. I know when to use my Lodium, because sometimes too you're having diarrhea, you are constipated. It's a whole lot. It's really, really, I don't really know how to start. The long hours in the hospital, and why I say access, or talk about menstrual poverty, I know the Unilag journey. For most part of it, when I'm being referred, I go to Loot. We're using Loot because Loot works with Unilag. Most of the drugs are very expensive. So once they just write out of stock and I have to go outside to buy, they are pretty expensive. I will just manage my pain like that and revert to my days of not having access to it. The drugs are that expensive because you're giving me a drug that I'll have to be buying about 8,000, 10,000 just for one period. And the test, also the series of tests, I had to do pelvic exam. I had to do a lot before I got my ovarian. So these are not things that anybody, an average person, somebody who is trying to eat, can afford to run through.
Wow, this is grim and this is thought-provoking. So this is not a condition that someone in the low-income brackets can easily treat.
No.
So do you know anyone in that bracket that is going through this and how they're surviving?
Well, for most people, I feel like the threshold for pain increases with time, because it took me a lot of therapy also to recognize the fact that you are not overdoing it. This is a pain you've gotten used to with time. And remember, getting diagnosis is also very expensive. It's gruesome. You are going to the hospital, they're telling you do this test, oh, let's check for this, let's check for that. That cost alone. And that's why when I talk to people, I like to say the pain you're feeling is it's probably not normal. When you have a pain that is above, you need to investigate. Investigation is... So I know a couple of people, but we cannot just say it. That I would also like to mention that to get a diagnosis, you probably need to do a laparoscopy. There are different ways, and recently we're celebrating that you don't really have to do that now.
I remember Dr. Bayomi Ajayi saying that.
It's like there's an improvement. The diagnosis level is kind of increasing. Way before now, you have to do that. So, yeah, I know people who live with these pains, but all I just try to encourage them is go through the routine, and then they come back with, oh, they asked me to do this. This is expensive. I also counsel people. I just talk to them, and because I'm very open about my condition. I also like to say that there's a lot of stigma around. I know I lost a relationship to that when somebody's saying that, oh, you have endometriosis. That means that your chance of having a baby is this.
And I was coming to that as well.
Until I'm like, okay, I've not even gotten to that bridge. So why are we talking about having a baby at this point? Or are you with me because of a baby or something? And I think it's unfair. It's really, really unfair when you have to make people, because of a condition that they did not bring on themselves. And so
it's some sort of shaming, some sort of discrimination.
A lot, because I'm trying to imagine myself if I'm in a relationship with somebody who probably has a fertility issue, one fertility issue or the other, then I have to take the bulk of the blame, because it's like, oh, she's not getting pregnant because she has endometriosis. And of course, there are people, it's a bit tough, but yet there are people who have endometriosis and make babies.
Right.
That's why we have people even after they've had babies. I belong to support groups, and there are people who share these testimonies. I'll call it testimonies because conception is a big deal for people with endometriosis, and miscarriage rate is also a bit high. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Enito Sophie Oluwa. This is not just thought-provoking, it just makes you think and, realize that life is just not normal for a lot of people. And in spite of that, they're making meaningful, their lives meaningful. I mean, I am so inspired by how you don't stay in one place, how you join.
Okay, so I think that's the part you get to see, the part of me not
Yes.
staying in one place, because I do not really. I think the month of March is when I really talk about it. Sometimes I just even share it to say, okay, now I'm in the hospital now, I'm having this, so that people can also relate. That's the part I want to share. I want
that's
people
the month of
endometriosis awareness. Yes, I want people to just remember me as that person who did her best, and that's why period poverty is a big deal for me. You see me talk to young girls. I believe that if I had somebody talk to me about all this, I mean, even using the wrapper and going through that, I picked infection at a point. And these are things that you keep managing by yourself. If I had somebody talk to me, or if I had a group of people talk to me, maybe the journey would have been easier, because it's one thing to know that you have a challenge or there's a name for what you're going through, not something that has been regularized. Now they make you feel like you are a lazy person. You are not the first woman to have a period. Period pains are things that women do not discuss. In fact, who even talks about period? Nobody talks about period. It's not something, it's something that we are hiding. And it should not be. People who have pains should talk about it. We're looking at, there are stages to endometriosis. I'm sure doctor mentioned it also. There are like different stages. So the earlier the better. This is just something like diabetes. You can manage it instead of letting it now turn to full-blown or something that would really just
stop you from living
your life.
Right. Thank you so much. A lot to chew from our conversation with you. We've been having this really topical period conversation with Eniton Sophie Oluwa, who, by the way, does the menstrual health talk for the sanitary pad media campaign, which I run. And the way she does it, you wouldn't think she's dealing with endometriosis. You call her and she's there, and she has the time for those girls. We're moving from one location to the other. She doesn't tell you she's dealing with endometriosis. You just wouldn't know. So this is, for me, the very definition of courage and the very definition of tenacity. I feel privileged to know you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for all the work that you do. Thank you for volunteering for us.
Thank you. I'm happy to do it.
Thank you so much. Before we go, I know that you use tampons, but hey, this just could be a gift for one of the communities you go to, for one of the girls. So
I mean, I could also use it too, because there are days some of this part comes handy when you are overflowing and then you cannot have access to some of these tampons. Right. You run out of stock.
So I'm just going to give you this. This is reusable pads, as
Thank
you know,
you.
from disposable to reusable. And then we've had, events about tampons and what's that one again?
Menstrual cups.
Menstrual cups. Menstrual cups. So
yes.
This is for you on my period stories today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you,
Sophie. Well done for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Right. So that's it on my period stories today. That's about it for our series on endometriosis. Next week we'll be back again with another fascinating story about periods.